Cool. Welcome back. Another episode, C-Suite Unfiltered with Mike Andes. We are back. It was a Friday at time of recording. I'll try to get this up today, so apologies if it's a bad thumbnail. How we doing, sir?
Good, man. A little lower energy given it's a Friday. We just got back a turnaround show, but we're good.
Yeah, you've been doing lots of turnarounds. So, how many turnarounds have you traveled to? Obviously, not necessarily produced this year, but how many have you already recorded like this year? Ballpark number, like 20, 30? It's kind of crazy.
It's one per week, so we've had to go a little bit more than that because we got so far behind. Because I didn't do any hard. I had only one trip in November, December, January because of conference, and then so we had to catch up. So I've probably done we're 9 ahead, so I've done probably one, two, three, four, probably like 15 this year, maybe 16,
Dude,
17,
that's
18,
crazy.
something like
I
that.
was gonna
But
say, I feel like you're
yeah, we're
probably at
about
20 already.
yeah, probably.
Yeah, in terms of recorded, not necessarily released, but recorded. And you also have, so we have the turnaround series, but we also have, what is it, the business breakthrough series. So those are cool. You've only really released like one or two of those. So how are those going?
Yeah, like they don't do as well on YouTube because people want to see a problem and a solution. Whereas with
Yeah.
Breakthrough, it's like let's just grow their business. I do think that down the road, like we want to keep it around because it'll allow us to open up to other industries down the road. Um, so yeah, we'll keep it in our back pocket, but the turnarounds are still our kind of our bread and butter. Like the last episode was probably my favorite we've ever done. It was for a $1.7 million business. Yeah, we're just getting better each time. So it's always frustrating because when you're 9 behind, it means that's like 3 trips, and
Yeah.
like 3 trips, 4 trips ago is when we started getting good, in my opinion. And so
Hmm.
but each one we're starting to get better on, and so yeah, I just look forward to getting them out and making them
Yeah.
better each time.
Cool. No, they're sweet. The quality's insane. The graphics are insane. I can tell the team is like putting a ton of effort, ton of work into them. So I just figured I'd ask on that. One thing that we have not talked about recently is CoPilot developments. So figured we'd touch on that as well, real quick. Kind of just get like a general update from Mike. I know you recently posted about a new, what is it, new payment feature. So tell us about that.
Yeah, just basically the pay in full option. So in the perfect world, everyone would pay up front, but you usually don't want to require prepayment required because some people wouldn't accept the job. And so all we're doing is essentially allowing for the pay in full option to be right next to the deposit. So if you require 50% down, it's like, hey, there's your 50% down, it's required, but then also you have the option of paying in full. So it's relatively small in terms of feature, but I do believe it's going to collect about 15 to 25% of payments in full before the job is accepted. And mostly from customers that have already done work for you in the past and they already trust you. So like they're like, why would I wait until after the job to pay the rest of this? I'll just do it once. So it saves them time. But yeah, just increasing cash flow. So that's helpful. But then we also had a whole bunch of fast follows on the last estimates release. So just like the way we were positioning names and the size of dollar signs and like the recommended tab on the estimate. So a bunch of fast follows on that. 2 weeks from now, we have another release coming out, and next month is the Field Force mobile app, which is allows offline mode. So just a lot of developments. I feel like we just are hitting our stride, and it'll just get faster because we still have a few more engineers we need to get.
Mhm. Yeah, so I noticed that like the timeline is kind of accelerating. It seems like I know that there was, I guess a slowdown last year, which has been addressed, right? Bug hill and all the things that the Copilot team had to overcome. But now it seems like just kind of rapid fire. Like I feel like I get an update, a new post, a new notification all the time about Copilot updates. So do you feel like, as you said, you guys are starting to hit your stride, and will timelines start to get accelerated? Obviously, not asking you to overpromise, but I just feel like I've seen a pretty drastic change, at least just in Q1 of this year, in terms of the speed to release some of these promises, if you will.
Yeah, it'll only get faster. So we're just hitting our stride now. People really like in June when we released the mobile app, um, and then it'll just get faster. Like we're just gonna get faster and faster. Like I'd say this time next year will be 3 times faster than what we're currently at, and I'd say right now we're like 5 times faster than we were this time last year. So yeah, it's gonna get fast. The goal like of our current engineering lead is as fast as Mike can think of stuff, we can create it. So with that being the benchmark, it's exciting.
Yeah, that's kind of insane benchmark. It's almost an impossible benchmark. Like, when does it become? And I guess I wasn't planning on going down the rabbit hole of Copilot, but we're going to a little bit. When does it become you get an idea, or the top team, Josh and others at the top of the org, if you will, get an idea and they're like, we should implement this. When does it become that Copilot is so big, if you will, that like the ideas from the founder, the ideas from the top can't be as instantaneous, right? And obviously, this is just a drastic, not necessarily an A to B comparison, but like Mark Zuckerberg gets an idea from Meta. It can't happen overnight because Facebook is like too big. You guys still are in that early phases where you're still small enough, you're quick, you're adaptable. Like, how quickly can, let's say you have this amazing idea, or all the users of Copilot unanimously agree to like one thing that they want created. That would never happen. Let's hypothetically, how quickly could that be rolled out?
Well, that's the distinction. It would never happen because there's never a time when everyone agrees on anything. So it's much more of a. Uh, I felt some reassurance the other day. I heard Mark Zuckerberg getting, you brought him up, so him getting
Yeah.
interviewed, and Mr. Beast was talking about a certain feature that he really wanted, that
Yes.
YouTube has and Facebook doesn't. And what I found consolation was Mark like, we've been working really hard at that. The team is fully looking at this. Maybe next year. I was like, yes. So like, if you're gonna do it right, it takes time. And so, as time has gone on, I've realized that actually the speed in which we do things in terms of like new features is what usually people will measure our speed on. But in my opinion, like I'd rather half the amount of things that we release, but when they're released, they're done well, and then they're followed
Mhm.
up with really good fast follows in terms of feedback from the community. And so the vast majority of things that are happening on the roadmap are simply us listening to the customers and like figuring out what their pain points are. The other 20%, which that's 80% of the time, I'd say the other 20% is, okay, how do we differentiate ourselves? How do we think outside the box using AI, my insights, and create the sizzle on the steak. But really 80% of it is like, what's the current pain points of the customer for existing features, and what's their pain points that they have in their business that we could solve with software. And so most of it's just listening, and then it's figuring out, okay, prioritization of these 5,000 pings that people are going to ask us to do. Which ones are the most important in terms of impact to the member base, impact to their businesses? Because everyone wants to have one more thing to make them save them a few minutes, and that's good. But ultimately, I need them to make more money, and that's why we have like the guarantee around growth and profitability. And so, like if I'm optimizing for those things, what might seem important to someone, like, oh man, if I could just do this group selection, or if I could just change this on the dispatch board, yes, it would make your life a little easier. But if I could alternatively, and maybe 5% or 10% of the customer base would use that feature, great, and it would be a game changer for them. They'd be really happy. But if I can make another feature that impacts 95% or 100% of users, especially that's why we went to estimates first, and improve their close ratio by 20%, that's the highest leverage thing for me to be focused on. And so, ruthless prioritization and execution has been my mantra the past few months, because like I know there's 5,000 things that need to be done, and there's always new features and new things that can be improved, or things that each user, to them it's the most important. But I have to think collectively, and then think about not just like how many people am I impacting, but what's the depth, like how deep are we impacting them. So for example, with the pay in full feature, I know I'm going to get a lot of flack around like, why are you guys focused on this instead of like something on the dispatch board or wait list, etc. And those things are important, please don't get me wrong, but it's ultimately, I know that if I increase the cash flow position of every single user by 15 to 25%, we have a win. Like that's a huge impact. The businesses I've recently, 2 out of the 3, both of their constraints was cash flow, and the reason was because of overdue invoices. And if I could release 50 or 30 to $50,000 of cash immediately to them because that one little feature was just sitting there, that's a huge impact. And it's more than just saving a minute or two per day on a certain selection or a certain automation. So I don't want to diminish anyone, because to everyone their thing is the most important. But ruthless
Mhm.
execution and ruthless prioritization is kind of been my mantra.
Oh, it's good. I like that ruthless prioritization. Now, the question then becomes, let's just use an analogy of a car, because I was trying to think through it as you were explaining. Using the analogy of a car, you're a car designer, right? People have decided they are going to use your car, hypothetically, the Copilot car, and they might want air conditioning, but you see that like we need better brakes. Like, air conditioning won't save you. Like, it will not, but brakes will. Why? Obviously, it's your product, it's your business, but like, why should people be able to just like be more? How can people be more willing to accept the brakes when they don't see how important the brakes are? Does that make sense?
Yeah, like to use the analogy, I would probably break up a driving experience into comfort, handling, and speed. And I think they're kind of the same thing in terms of software. Like comfort, it needs to be easy to use. It needs
Hmm.
to not be jolting. It needs to be stable. It can't be breaking. It can't be messing up and having bumps and etc. Um, Speed, in terms of speed of execution, fancy features. That's like the flashy thing. People usually want that too, like the sizzle. It's what attracts people to like a new car. It's like how fast can it go? And then the agility or the handling of the
Handling.
vehicle, I would is very much in line with, um, you know, is it easy to navigate? Is it easy? Do we save them time and steps when they're trying to navigate throughout? Does it take a long time to do page loading, etc.? So like, um, yeah, there's gonna be some people who over-index on like I just want this certain feature and like their speed, 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 and I have to be like, okay, wait a second, like we're gonna give up some speed, but I need better comfort. Like I need to have it where the user interface is a little simpler, and so I'm gonna give up that feature in exchange for comfort, and I don't get people jolted around because there's too many buttons, for example. So, yeah, it's a good analogy actually.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So, but the question I still, I guess, would remain is if you're focused on the brakes, if you're focused on the handling, right, and others
Mm-hmm.
want to be focused more on the comfort, right, to get as
Mm-hmm.
reductive as we can, like when do you feel like it is your responsibility to deeply explain the processes of handling, or is it just up to the consumer to then choose a different product that's more quote unquote comfortable? Does that make sense?
Yeah, like it's like if you were going and getting a car, you're not asking for these very, very narrow questions about the handling of the brake. It's like as a package, which car is better? There's pros and there's cons of each one, which one's better? And then I, as the designer, have to remain competitive that as a net to a certain segment of the population, I'll be the best car. I'm not gonna be the best car to everyone, but to a certain segment, having just two seats is fine because I'm over indexing on speed. But then for other people, like I need seven seats, I'll have a minivan. It looks doesn't look as good, and then there's people like Lee that are like, I need a forerunner because I kind of want the marriage of all three of these things. So like, it's like I'll be the best car for a certain ICP or specific customer that I'm trying to serve, ideal customer profile. And so that's really like narrowing what is our ideal customer profile, what do they value. That's when you have to listen to them, and then how do I build the car that's for them, which means I will inherently have other people that will not see it's the best car because I'm not serving them to the same way that
Mhm.
someone like yourself, like the Porsche is cool, but I'm not buying it. It's like it goes too fast, and I don't have seven seats, and I have to have Ernie's got to sit in the back with the car seat. So like
Yeah.
it's just who are you serving? Is it the best car for them?
Yeah, fair enough. You're outing me a little bit. It's technically my wife's forerunner. So,
Right. That's what they all say.
but no, I've always wanted one. But yeah, we had a kid, and I was like, I'm buying a forerunner. I just don't care. But because they're perfect. They're practical. They do it all. No, I get what you're saying, and I think that's where a lot of times it's easy for business owners, business leaders, and now kind of zooming out to talking to the audience here. It's easy to get focused on like I must fix the brakes. Like I know that the brakes are the best thing for my customer, quote unquote, but not realizing that you don't need to serve every customer. Right. There are customers that are going to be more concerned about the brakes, and there will be others that are more concerned about the AC, whatever it is. And I even had that conversation quite literally today with someone interested in joining Augusta. And they were like, well, why is Jim's monthly fee this, Jim's mowing, for a reference for everyone, versus Augusta's? Why is yours this? And I was like, well, what research did you do into gyms versus Augusta? And they explained the research they did. And I said, great. So you saw that they're just different products altogether, right? And they were like, yeah, I guess I didn't consider it. Cool. So we're comparing apples to oranges, right? You're just saying, well, this is one price, this is another price, versus they're just completely different products altogether. And one might fit you better and the other might fit you worse. And you have to decide kind of how you're going to fit into those products or how you're going to use those products. I think sometimes as business owners or leaders, we get so focused on the product must be perfect, but perfect for who? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That's like ICP is all I care about now because like
Yeah.
I will not be perfect to most people, but to my ICP, I need to remain competitive. And this is like why it's so easy in software to get so focused on the features because that's what everyone's crying for. But like when you think about like when I go on the turnaround show, there's only been one turnaround I've ever recommended that they join Copilot. Because to turn around a business in 6 weeks, it is rare that the highest leverage thing you do is switch software. It is usually
Yeah.
structural to the business around liquidity, leads, labor, or leadership. None of those things have to do with software. Now, they can be a component of it, and software can grease the engine. Certainly, I believe in that. But in all probably 70 businesses I've visited for turnarounds now, plus, um, not a single. Well, there's only been one that I said, so like in the next 6 weeks, you should implement something like CoPilot. I didn't even say CoPilot. I just said a CRM.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the reason I say focus on that is because when I'm thinking about the highest leverage thing that we can do for these business owners is like it's not actually giving them the feature. It's actually telling them what to do next in their business and using the data. And that's what
Hmm.
will ultimately, in my opinion, differentiate CoPilot is like telling you when to raise prices, who to raise prices on, which services are most profitable, who should be working with who. Like all that data is there. So
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and you're trying to make it like a well-oiled machine. So who would be the ideal person that would want to use that product? Like who is Copilot for now at this point, if you're willing to just say?
yeah, like right now we've optimized for the person that's between 200,000 to $1 million. Over the next 12 months, that's going to move substantially higher. So like I'm really targeting the person that wants to get above 1 million and really wants to grow to about 3 million per location. And so the way that we move in terms of our features, who we're serving, like even with the Field Force app, it is made for just field technicians. Therefore, I am cutting out exactly 100% of solo operators and serving that feature. So I know I will get a huge outcry from my solo operators, which I love them all, but I'm not building that feature for them. The reason for that is because my ICP needs the feature. They need the app.
Hmm.
My solo operator does not. They don't have a field technician. They want all the features on one app because they use that one app all day long. And some people will move to Copilot away from other softwares because we have an app that allows for all features to be done from one app. But that serves a solo operator. And so when we think about ideal customer profile, and I'm trying to serve a larger customer that thinks much more about marketing and like thinks much more about like, okay, a text blast generated 25 estimates, and I'm willing to pay $50 per lead to Facebook. Oh, so that is actually just saved me $1,250. And they think that way instead of
Hmm.
I can't edit my email templates from my mobile app. So it's a different ICP to your point, and I think it'll become more and more clear as we go up market. That I will always have we'll always have a free tier, like literally where people can join for free and test it out, and up to 50 customers. So even the solo operator that has like 30 or 40 customers, they'll be able to use the thing for free. But the features that we are building are much more for the million to $3 million company, and that we like really clear in 12 months. But right now, it's like next month or two, you're gonna start seeing us go that direction.
Okay, so what if I'm someone listening to this or a user of Copilot and I don't necessarily plan on growing beyond that? Let's say I'm happy with, the half a million, $800,000, GM model. I'm happy to run my business. I'm happy to do my own sales. I don't want to expand. I don't have massive entrepreneurial desires. Like I'm happy with my team of 5 to 6 employees. Like I love my customers, I love my community, and I love my weekends. Can I still use Copilot, or am I going to slowly kind of lose some of the features that I love about Copilot?
You won't necessarily lose features. It's just that the features that are built might seem like they are less applicable to you. And
Hmm.
so, the same way that the Tesla Cybertruck is, shown in every single ad as driving off road, like 98% of people never have taken it off the road when they're driving. So, like, even though we are building this thing to be a quote unquote Cybertruck that's going up a side of a mountain, the vast majority of people don't use it. The same way, like when it comes to sequence automations or the upsell feature or even the paid in full option, like I know that only about 30% of people will turn that feature on, but I also know that like, it is capable of more. And so,
Hmm.
in terms of the capabilities of the truck, quote unquote, we're building it for this. There will be other people who be like, hey, I don't really have that big of a business, but I also really want to have mass texting inside my platform without integrations, which no other software is doing. Great, then you'll still enjoy it. So come on along for the ride. Be the Cybertruck that drives on the highway. And so our ideal customer profile will want to grow their business above $1 million. That doesn't necessarily mean today they have $1 million business. They might be at 200,000, but they see, okay, I will need to switch to a different software if I don't make the switch now to Copilot, and they'll still come along for the ride. And I believe there will be the 500, $800,000 operator that, again, they like certain features, they like the way things are set up, and they're willing to realize that they're going to be the fringe feature that is built for $1 million+ operator. So anytime I'm thinking about desktop, I'm thinking about a larger operator because desktop users are people in the office. There are people that are without a laptop. When I am thinking mobile, I have that emphasis is focused on the solo operator. That is so much more smaller. And when we start thinking about things like the waiting list, if you have a solo operator, you don't need a lot of waiting list situation. You throw everything on schedule and get it done tomorrow. So it's just all of these things are um, product decisions. Good stuff.
Yeah.
That's why Josh is. Oh,
Yeah, shout out Josh with the CoPilot team and everybody over there. Yeah, I wasn't planning on going down the CoPilot rabbit hole, but it's always exciting to kind of see what you guys are up to, how things are working over there. So I appreciate you being willing to share. Gonna change it up. Also, wasn't planning on talking about this. This is a free flowing Friday since we're recording here on a Friday. You used to talk about this a lot. I assume you still do it. But maybe we'll touch on you. I would say probably what mid last year, late last year, you decided to start looking at things in terms of like 6 week swings. If you are you still using this philosophy of like 6 week
yeah.
swings?
Yep. This is my
Yeah, or
current one.
sprints, 6 week sprints.
Yep.
That is the term. Swings is 5 to 10 year swings, 6 week sprints. So maybe share a little bit about why you started doing that, because I know we've talked about it on the pod before, but I don't think we really got into like why you started doing it, and then maybe we can talk about how it's working out for you now.
Yeah, like it's the same thing as actually 6 week sprints actually comes from software. So it's very common to have 6 weeks of a sprint, and then you have 2 weeks of cool down period. Inside the 2 week cool down period, you're usually shaping the next sprint and like creating clarity around how things are supposed to roll. So I took that from software. I'm like, oh, this should totally work to make my personal life more like productivity higher. And so yeah, I'm still doing it. My current sprint ends on June 1st, and that's the day that the book is getting launched. So this sprint is kind of focused on that. Paid in full features inside of there. There's a couple others I'm not going to talk about because they're coming out in May. But yeah, so like the general thesis is that doing 2 or 3 or 4 things really well is more important. And it's a clarifying function. Like if you get everything done for the day and you're like, okay, I have an hour or two, like what should I be working on? It's like, well, it's very obvious. These are the 3 things that are most important for me to get done this quarter. I should be focused on them. And it's also a function of like if if there is something discretionary in my time and it's not higher value than these things, then it needs to be cut. And so you get ruthless about like removing of things because oh, well that doesn't it's not as important as these 3, so like I need to cut it. So I figure if I can do 3 or 4 really good things every quarter, and we wake up at the end of the year and have 15 really well executed um, initiatives, that the business will do really well. So yeah, I still do it. I love it. And hey, people mock on it until they try it one time. Trello, I'm telling you, let's go. I got Brianna on Trello now. She's doing daily checklists. It's great. So shout out Trello.
If someone has never used the framework of 6 week sprints, how would they get started? Like, what would be a good starting point to kind of start using that framework? Because I think goal setting is very hard. Even for, my calls when people are interested in joining Augusta, I used to ask like, okay, let's say you join Augusta, what's the long-term goal? And that was like too open-ended. That was a bad question. Hand up. I need to ask a better question. So now I frame it as, hey, when you join Augusta, what does the 5 year goal look like? Just generally kind of spitball, doesn't have to be super ultra detailed, but like in 5 years, I feel like we can visualize what's that look like to you. And I usually get better answers from people because 5 years is like contextual in a business, they can see that. But 6 weeks is definitely different because I feel like a lot of people have, their weekly goals, they have monthly, and they have quarterly. 6 weeks is basically half a quarter. So how would you start to use that framework, and how do you decide, okay, what's too big of a task to put in that, and what's maybe too small that I should just, reduce, and I'm thinking too little?
Yeah, that's why 6 weeks is so perfect. It's short enough to where um, it doesn't seem so far away, and it's long enough to where you can get meaningful work done. So like this sprint, I will complete the entire book. Usually I spend like 6 months on a book. This one I had already created so much of the content. It mostly just needed like some brute force in terms of design, audible, like reading the audio program. Um, like it was more fringe, but it's a meaningful project. Like taking it from one-time workshop into a book format is high leverage. So it's more a matter of like if you're just getting started, write down the 20 things you want to do in the business. Write down the 50 things you want to do in your business. You can do it for your personal life too, and then just if you had a gun to your head and you can only do 3 of them, which one would you do now? Like which basically prioritization. Like which of these 3 are most important? And most of the time, if you did those 3, 5 of the other ones would be solved, and then 10 of them would resolve themselves in the next 6 weeks by themselves because you just let them burn. So it's just ruthless. It's like ruthless prioritization, and
Yeah.
so it's not comfortable. Like 6 week sprints are not comfortable because it means constantly saying no to things. It means letting fires burn. It means being very decisive because you in 6 weeks you don't have time to be super cognizant of people's feelings or like letting them adapt to things. Like, if we got to move on this, like we got to get this done now. Like this is my deadline. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but when like so technically speaking, if you're going full out 6 week sprints and using some of the common knowledge around it that was stemmed from a book. For blanking on the name, I apologize. I can look it up right now. But the from a technical perspective, where it came from is from a Basecamp. So one of the founders of Basecamp, wrote a book on it, and it's super good. And that's where like it's very. I would not recommend reading this for most people. It's called Shape Up: Stop Running in Circles and Ship Work That Counts. Um, it's like I don't even know if you can buy it on Amazon. Honestly, Jason Fried wrote it, and so um, but the general thesis is that if you in 6 weeks don't get it done, it stops. Like you don't complete the work, and
Hmm.
which puts tons of emphasis on the finish line. Like you have to crunch it, which means like it's like an all out sprint literally to get it done. Because if you don't get it done, it's off. Like it's done. We're scrapping the work. And so that really forces the shaping, like what can I get done that's meaningful and obtainable within those 6 weeks. So yeah, you're right.
Hmm.
It is definitely like it's very sometimes difficult to be like, okay, can I get this done in 6 weeks? Because if not, I'm not putting it on. And yeah, but I like it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. No, it's interesting. I personally have not tried it. I've tried to give myself just like deadlines, but I'm thinking about trying it. Obviously, I don't have as many big picture tasks as you do and other entrepreneurs or CEOs out there. But for me, I'm just kind of stuck to like personal deadlines. Like, hey, I'm going to get this done by then. Like I showed you a spreadsheet I've been working on. I was like, okay, starting this month, we'll start tracking data like this way, and then we'll have previous month's data for this version, and personal timelines. I'm going to update this automation sequence and have it tested and ready to roll by X date. So do you think there's a better way that I could do it? I guess just asking for feedback, but also for the sake of discussion.
Do you want to create your 6 week sprint now and let's see how it works? Like so
Sure.
now is like the
Yeah.
beginning of May.
Yeah, let's do
So
it.
like this
Let's
is this
do
is
it.
basically June 16th, be six
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
how I do it, the reason like mine's and James first, because like 6 weeks is easy, like a month and a half. So I just do like
Yeah.
from like April 15th. So I'm 2 weeks into my sprint now.
Right.
And then it's easy. It's easy to remember too.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So like I could kind of, you want me to spitball a couple that I think could potentially be?
Yeah. Sure. 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 Why not?
Okay, well, let's do this. So let's do one for like leave Hark in general, because I know you're starting to get into walking, and I did hear that the treadmill is coming into the
The
office.
treadmill's coming.
So,
Yes, I know.
okay, so how many like are you shooting for a certain number of steps per day? Like, what's your goal?
Um, it's I would say it's more miles, because then it's like, okay, if I am going to run or jog, I still did my miles. If I am going to walk, I still did my miles. It's like there will be a certain amount of miles done every day. So that's like
Dude, you're
the
gonna
initial
crush
right
it.
now.
Once you get the treadmill in the office, dude,
Yeah.
you can get so many steps. So this I brought this back. I took this off ages ago.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wore this for about 3 years. It's a cheap fitness tracker. There's my non-financial advice. Go buy it on Amazon. It's $50. Way better than the Apple Watch because of the cost. So, anyways, there's my non-financial advice. Got it out of the way. But also, um, uh, Brianna, she's now using the walking treadmill because she can just walk and work on that. And in a matter of like three
Yeah.
hours, you'll get like 15,000 steps. And you're walking like
Yeah,
two and a
totally.
half miles an hour. It's like super easy. So,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
she's crushing me on that. It's not even close. But definitely a hack. So what you could do, all of that to say, you could set like a miles. Like, do you want? What are you trying to do now? Like 2-3 miles a day?
Yeah, right now it's like 2 to 3 is like rough. It's like if I have more time, which obviously I need to better prioritize. But yeah, it's like 2 to 3 minimum. Minimum.
Okay. Yeah. So you could do like, hey, you have to do 3 miles a day.
Mhm.
And
Or I
that
could
could be like a
do
6 figure.
I could just round it up to 5, because then if I have a walking treadmill
Whoa.
in office, it's like, okay, well, I'm just saying, because then it's like I could do 2 to 3 in the office, 2 to 3 in the morning.
Okay. That would be tough to track though, because do you have the tracker?
Yeah, I have my Apple Watch. I wear my Apple Watch primarily
Oh, okay.
for like
Okay.
workouts at home. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Valid. So 5 miles a day. That's a good start. Let's go. So
Yeah,
that
sure.
could be one of
Sure. Might
them,
as well.
right? Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like that one's tough to define a finish line. It's more a matter if you did it every single day, you would create the habit. So really, that's like the finish line is creating the habit of walking.
Hmm.
But that could be one. Another one, like for example, we're rolling out the Facebook ads for the franchise. So that's a new
Hmm.
territory for you. So like I
Yep.
would say I would try to define like a certain number of like a cost per um, lead, i.e., appointment,
Yep.
and then a defined close ratio on that potentially, or not close ratio, but a show rate. I'd probably just do show
Show
rate.
rate. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
do you have an
Cool.
idea what
Yeah.
those could be?
Oh gosh, cost per appointment booked,
We're
call
workshopping this,
booked. I
bro.
don't.
We're working shop
I
this,
know. I know.
dude.
I know. I haven't looked at enough of the numbers. I would say, I think less than $100 would be a good start. I would say that's even like
Really?
that's aggressive. I think it's very
Yeah.
aggressive. I think keeping
Yeah.
it under like 200-300 is probably more realistic
Yeah.
per appointment
So what?
booked, and then with a
What if we
show
do?
rate of like 50%. I know that's super high, but
Okay,
I'd rather like
that's
shoot
good.
for higher goals.
Yeah. So why don't you do this? Why don't you do $150 as cost per lead, and then a 50% show rate, and then let's shoot for like a certain number of leads, like the number of appointments, because that's the balance. Because you could take one appointment and
Hmm.
beat your target, right? So you could have 150 CPL, then you could have 50% show rate, and then you could have a goal of like 50 appointments booked.
Let's see, and that'd be in 6 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, in 6 weeks that's easy because I think this week you got like 5 in 4 days. You're basically averaging one a day, and you can optimize it, and you can increase the budget. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. It says right now we're at $40 per lead,
Okay, you must have got several today then.
but
Oh,
that's
it's
there's
not
no
spending
way.
the full budget. It's not spending the full budget.
Yeah. This is where I need to learn more about this. I don't know if this one can be specific. Or I mean, we can put targets, but I don't know how realistic they'll be just because I don't know enough,
Right,
right?
right,
That's the
right,
tough
right.
part
Okay,
with this
let
with this specific one.
right. True, true, true. So why don't we just do number of appointments booked from and showed
Right.
from Facebook? Let's just do that.
Yeah. But then that's like I'm even looking at our ads right now. Like that's just not that number it's showing right now is not accurate. So that's where I need to learn more.
Okay, okay. We'll have to look at it.
Yeah. Does
But
that make sense? Like
that
it's showing more than I know have been booked.
yeah, but that's a pixel. Oh, that's weird because does it say meetings on there, or what does it say? Oh, it's your conversion.
Yeah, it says inviting meeting scheduled.
Oh, interesting. It might be counting the pixel when they hit the page to start the form.
More than likely, that's probably as far as I can track.
Uh, okay. Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we should just do like 25 appointments or 30 appointments booked.
Okay. Okay.
30 booked. 30 booked. So we've gotten 5 miles a day. We got in the next 6 weeks, we have to get 30 appointments booked from Facebook. And then what
Yeah.
else? I know you're working with a coach on some stuff. So like, is there anything there that you kind of like? I know you're optimizing instantly, like
Mm-hmm. Revamp my whole like tagging process
for sales.
for sales. Yeah. 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 So a whole new tagging system for tracking versus just like this person could be a good fit to join Augusta versus this person could not. I mean, that's really the tagging system right now, but really starting to dial in like who should join Augusta based on are they existing business owner, are they not an existing business owner, what's the current size of their business, how likely do I feel like they would join, are they a good fit or not, like really ramping up my tagging system so I have a better customer tracking or pipeline tracking as it's referred to in sales to make sure I know kind of what's coming up in the pipeline, how effective our ads are working versus our outbound, like really just tagging everything so I have more data.
Yeah. So this is like I would probably name this one like implement pipeline tagging system. Right.
Yeah.
And because you know what that means and you know what the finish line would look like and whether or not in 6 weeks, because what happens is you get busy. So in 4 weeks, like snap, oh, I have hardly even started this one. Okay. I have
Yeah.
to like take a day and just do it. Like it's a forcing
Yeah.
function because sometimes these things can be done in one day. It's just a function of like making sure it's a priority. So,
So yeah,
those are three
100%.
good ones. Okay.
All
What
right.
else? Like, because you could probably come up with 30, but like this is like you just keep doing this. And what
This is
I
the
would recommend to
brainstorm.
anyone else is as these things pop in your mind, you just make a really, really long list. So I have like 20 or 30 things in my list. And when I come up to the next sprint, that's when I have to ask myself, which of these are most important? So like we've just done
Hmm.
three, and like whether or not you use them, I don't care. Like, but like that is
Yeah,
like kind of like how I would come up with things to do. And then it's like
yeah.
which of these 10 things or 20 things are most important? I'd choose 3 to 4 max.
Got it. Yeah. And I would say those are probably the most important right now. Like I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. I mean, I'm a brainstorm after this, but yeah, no, that makes sense. That was a good workshop.
And if you don't have to even get as specific as like, hey, you get 30 booked appointments. You could even just be like, refine the Facebook system and understand the full pipeline from click to close inside Facebook, or even
Hmm.
just like scale the outbound Facebook strategy. That would actually probably be the better one to do because you don't
Yeah.
actually know the metrics. It's just like I need to figure this out in the next 6 weeks and I need to have it nailed.
Hmm.
So I'd probably actually index more towards like the more generic language instead of like a defined finish line necessarily in terms of number
Hmm.
of leads or even like miles. So for example, like the real target there is creating the habit of walking.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. No, that makes sense. But then it like starts to blur the line of, okay, well, what's the actual end result? What's the end goal? Does that make sense? Versus I'm going to prioritize X. So that's where I think that's why I wanted to open the discussion about 6 week sprints, because it's easy to be like, for the next 6 weeks, I'll be focused on X. But there kind of almost needs to be an objectivity of the goal. Obviously, for this whole Facebook ads thing, we're getting way in the weeds and we're learning a lot as we go. So yes, that could be more generic. And I think there are times where in life we can have more generic goals, like I will prioritize X. But I think the walking thing, it'd almost be better, walking slash running, it'd be better to be specific. Like there is a target and we must hit it. And it could be like 5 miles a day. And by the end of 6 weeks, 80% completion. So 80% of the days over the next 6 weeks, I do the 20% of the days, if I miss, that's okay. If I hit 75%, I failed, quote unquote, right?
Yep.
I like black and whites. So, especially when it comes to goal setting, like I've never been a goal person. That's like something
No.
about me. I've never been a goal person, like New Year's resolutions, whatever. Like I was the worst, in school when they were like, "What are your goals for the year in this class?" or "What are you going to learn?" Even my senior's thesis, right? It's like defend some concept and write a 25-page professional, academic paper. And I literally went to my advisor and I was just like, I don't know, like, what do you even want me to do? I was like, there's too many things to talk about. Like, what's the goal? Like, I was like, I don't know what my goal is here. He's like, you're just supposed to write an academic paper. I was like, okay, but what about our library in the basement that has like millions and millions of people way smarter than me? Why should I add to that? Like, who am I? So I'm very bad at goal setting and following through. I'm very good at just doing. That's why I'm an operator. Does that make sense?
I think it's less about goals though, it's more about prioritization. Because like I think a lot of people they waste 10 minutes here and 20 minutes there and 5 minutes here simply because they don't know what they should be working on. And it's really just a prioritization of like when in doubt, you work on these things. So even if it's
Yeah,
not a
that's a
matter
good
of like
point.
finishing a deadline, it's more a matter of like when I have blank space, when I finish early, when a meeting cancels, when an estimate doesn't show up, what do I do next? These are the three
Hmm.
things I must get done first. So
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I've started to do that for myself, like in the evenings. I know I've talked about this with you before, but I don't get a lot of notifications anymore. I've blocked like all my apps and everything from notifying me. But what I do now is like if I just have a down 5 minutes, I'll just open my email and I'll just reply to work emails. I'm like, instead of opening up Facebook and scrolling mindlessly for 5 minutes, I'd rather just respond to some emails. So like every once in a while, you'll just get an email from me like late at night or randomly on the weekend. It's like, well, I had 5 minutes. So I just figured I'd open my email and respond and get some work done and chip away, priorities. So yeah, I agree. I think that's a good reframe. It's more about priorities than it is like there must be a goal and I must hit that goal.
yep.
Cool. Well, anything else you want to talk to with the people about?
No, I already shared my non-financial advice. They get one of these Xiaomi 9 bands
Yeah.
on Amazon. They're $50, far better than an Apple Watch. This has lasted me. I have charged this one time in the past 2 weeks, and it still
That's
has
clutch.
almost 50% battery. It's waterproof.
Yeah.
Tracks all your sleep, which has not been great this week at all. Very bad. Like if you want a hit to your self-esteem, wake up at this thing screaming at you like you have a 34 sleep score. So like, oh man, but I do like it.
I couldn't do that. That would stress me out because then I feel like I'm putting like something on me, like I didn't perform well enough versus like, it's like a placebo. Like if it tells me I had a bad night of sleep, am I going to actually think that? or do I wake up
Yeah.
feeling rested? I'd be
That's
interested.
Yeah, I originally took it off for this reason, and that was because I had too much anxiety around tracking my sleep.
Yeah.
But, you know,
I'd be
we're
interested
back.
for you or someone too if they were to wear a watch. I know like Apple does it, Garmin does it, that watch does it, to blindly before you look at it, be like, what was my sleep score for the night?
Dude, I can guess so accurately. It's crazy. Because once you do this for a while, so I did it for about 3 years, you really start to actually get pretty good at like, okay, how many steps did I take today? And I
Yeah.
can usually get pretty close to what my numbers were. But yeah, we're tracking on macro factor. That would be the other app. There you go. Macro factor tracking,
Okay.
like carbs, fats, proteins, calories, situation, and then steps. So I'm
Nice,
roped
dude.
in.
I like that. Cool. All right. Well, I'll do a purchase. I'll do a purchase as well for my not financial advice. We're just telling the people to spend their money. If you're looking at, and this is for if you're in the field or you just like to collect, or you just want a new pocket knife, Booker knives or Boker, is how some people say it. It's a German brand. Very, very nice, very high quality. I am a big fan. This looks like a little USB. It is not, which is pretty cool. So they make some sweet stuff.
You're not gonna show us how it comes out, dude?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, they're sweet. So they're just really high quality. I really like them. I've gotten into them as like a collection. I'm learning. You know, you got to find things. You know, I'm old now. I have to have like hobbies. So yeah, check them out. But anyways, that is the pod. Appreciate you all like and subscribe.
Good stuff, dude. All right, end recording.